All right, I'd like to go ahead and call to order the May 3rd Cape Harbor Parks Commission meeting. Starting with a roll call. My name is Ben Coronado, Parks Commission Chair, and to my left,
Justin Tierney, Parks Commissioner. Les McGowan.
Stephanie Lyle. Jennifer Harold, Parks Manager.
and via Zoom, we have City Clerk Josh Decker. Approval of minutes from the April 5th meeting. If there's a motion to approve.
I have a request. Oh,
Yeah.
Do you do
We'll
motion?
do motion and then we can make.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a motion.
Either one,
Les,
either one.
go ahead.
I just have a request for the minutes to reflect if there, not just discussion, but if there was a decision or a recommendation or something, that the minutes would reflect that. And maybe that's, they do, but maybe didn't talk about anything that required such a thing. But it would be nice if that was recorded in those minutes.
Like outcome of discussion or something like that, or?
Yeah, either, yeah, if there was a decision that was made, or there was a a decision to make a recommendation,
Mhm.
something like that.
Okay,
That would be a nice thing to include in the minutes, so that we have record.
right, absolutely. As far as I know, that's mostly cataloged pretty well, right, Josh?
It should be. If there's something I missed in there, then let me know. But yeah, if there's any kind of a consensus or direction, that'll show up in the minutes.
And if you ever feel like there is something that was discussed that you feel like didn't make it onto the minutes, feel free to
Okay,
amend these minutes
Got
via the following meeting.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on the minutes? If not, I'll look for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Right.
All right. Any opposed? Nope. Minutes approved is written. Any public comment? Are we counting these as public comment or no? This is completely
No,
different.
that's
Okay.
got its own agenda.
Okay, perfect. Then no public comment came my way.
If someone just asks you a question about the parks or a parks question, is that considered public comment?
I don't think since it's officially submitted, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, officially, since it's not officially submitted, it's not official public comment, but can be relayed or conveyed in the commissioner reports and comments.
Yeah,
That's,
that'd be something to bring up in the commissioner reports. If somebody brought something up to you and you want to talk about it, then yeah, just bring that up in the open commissioner report section.
Okay.
okay. And Louise Teeman was joining us, at 5:33, I think it's all via Zoom though, right? It's all documented. Hi, Louise.
hello.
Thanks for coming in from out of the sun. Or from work, wherever you came from. We just went through public comment and we're going to jump onto discussion items. So first item is the Scansey Brothers Park Rotary paver proposal. Well, please, this is coming back to us again, hopefully, right? This is, or no, this is Scansey. We did the answers, my apologies.
Oh.
New ones.
Yes.
Okay, so in that case, Jen, if you would be so kind to indulge us.
Of course, I handed out a little map. So I met with Jill Guernsey from the Rotary, former mayor. And apparently they used to have some pavers with like a memorial for the, for deceased Rotary members a long time ago. But I drew in blue on this kind of map where they are looking to replace like same sized bricks, but have people's name in them. And there's currently a plaque along a little short wall next to the pavilion that talks about the Rotary. So they would add another like smaller one that would fit in there. Explaining what the names were and such. And this is called like the Rotary or something. They did build the pavilion. So our operations crew thought that maybe that would be a good spot. One thing we've run into is this whole park is a historical district. So therefore, to make any changes to anything that isn't worn out or broken, we need to go, they would need to go to the design review board or the just about to be created historical preservation committee to get approval for that. So we wanted, so if this does move forward, that will be what they have to do to get a certificate of appropriateness for this project. But we wanted to run this by you first, to see if you had thoughts, concerns. opinions.
So the papers already exist,
They're
but they
kind
would
of,
be replaced
Yeah,
with
and they-
ones with people's names.
yes. Yeah, we didn't want them to create any new impervious surface. So,
I certainly have no objection to replacing a plain paver and putting in a paver with the name of a citizen that's contributed to the park.
Mhm.
So,
Looks like an improvement to me.
yes,
That's good.
Yeah, same color, same size, all that fun stuff.
Do we know the criteria of the people who's, are people buying bricks or is the Rotary funding commemorative bricks?
I believe the Rotary would be funding it, but I not 100%.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what the criteria are. She had mentioned Rotarians who have passed away.
Okay. Yeah, if there was, I mean, I think it's a great idea. It would just be nice to know what the criteria is.
Okay. Ask about that, we'll get back to you.
Right. So it's only Rotarians and,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
Good of that, then.
well, there's
something-
others, and there's other spots that other organizations, like on the Lions did the chunk of the stairs.
At the Finland line?
Yes,
Yeah.
the hill climb,
Right.
my dad's there, right, so there are other places, fishermen are going into the Ansich
Mhm.
Right.
patio, so I think there's plenty of spots for there's lots of citizens that are very community minded in their respective service organizations, and we appreciate all of that. They fund a lot, they do a lot of work, I mean, physical work in the community. So I don't mind having spots that, especially when they did fund the pavilion, and I don't remember what the money was, but it was a chunk of money
Mhm.
at the time, and if that's Rotary's spot,
That-
I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Well, I know that the dock, Darcy Shop was one of the Rotary's, one of their very first community service.
Yeah, they put in a lot of money, a lot of
Really?
places.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad was on that.
Yes,
And they maintain the flag.
Yep.
they maintain the flag.
I have the speech that my dad wrote with the, when the.
Yes,
private
so many
dedicated
things.
platform.
You know, it's certainly not just the one thing. They
Right.
they put money into Ansich too, I think,
We're
but.
continually doing little service projects.
Right,
like that.
little things all over the place. It's
Yeah.
very, for all of those service organizations, it's very impressive what they endeavor to do for their community and for the broader community as well, scholarships and all the things that make a robust service organization.
Do they come to you with their ideas? Is that the way that, do they have like a schedule of what their next, like 2 years of the projects are?
Not really, but we had talked about, so Connie's clock, which was also a Rotary issue on Vogue, the Vogue viewing platform. We had a discussion about that because it's currently broken, and to replace a part is gonna be almost $1,100. And there was never an agreement per se for who would take care of that. So that was a case, according to Jill, that they went and bought the clock, and then they're like, here, city, like, tell us where we can put it, and let's work together to do that. So Jill is trying to change a little bit how that operates, like run things by us first before people purchase or, you know, go ahead and plan a whole project
Yeah,
without, and then we have to go. But then they say, but we already have it, all the equipment or whatever, so she's trying to kind of help. make it a little-
facilitate the city with the Rotary. and
Yeah,
make
by
sure-
running just the idea by us first,
Yeah.
so,
If they would like to join us for a meeting, I mean, I think we'd be happy to see, you know, what kind of ideas they have and, you
okay,
know, see if there's any ideas that meld with any of ours or yours or.
Fine idea.
yeah.
So we seem to be in consensus here. Do we need to have a vote or just a discussion saying we're in consensus?
Is it?
I think we resolve to recommend
Mhm.
that we make a formal recommendation that
Support.
that supports the let's see if we could form, can we write this in the form of a resolution? So, I move that the Parks Commission formally supports the Rotary in replacing specific, bricks in the vicinity of the Rotary Pavilion at Scansy Park with commemorative named bricks.
I second.
There's at least 1 second.
And then we have to discuss,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, if there's any discussion, further discussion, I mean, it sounded like,
We got it.
yeah, it sounded like everybody's pretty in favor already with the,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, all in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed?
Great,
Unanimous consensus.
all right. All you need to say.
Yeah, we'll move on to item B, the North Creek Preservation Properties naming proposals, which is very exciting. The city acquired, is it 40+ acres? Is that what they?
40.5 acres, and we're working on another 11 currently.
And that would be part of the whole thing.
Yes,
All complete, well, one's separated by,
by the road.
Right.
We would,
but they're all, yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's crazy.
yeah,
Yes,
hoping
it
we
really
can make
is.
that other one happen as well.
And has that landowner approached the city?
We approached, well, we're working with Great Peninsula Conservancy. They've been doing most of the work and they approached the landowner and we have an appraisal. And now there's money. Now we're in the window for applying for conservation features funds. So hopefully they will, there are a couple in their 80s. And so are more interested in conserving it than developing it. And
Right,
hopefully we'll,
Is that a buddy?
Yeah, just directly north of the other property.
nice, and then I think it had some creek property on it.
Oh, yeah, it's got like 500.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's-
that would be fantastic.
yeah. So we put it up to the public last month that we were gonna open up naming recommendations for this parcel, for these parcels of property. I know there was one stipulation in there for one of the properties, is that right?
There is something on the bigger bump of properties, the phase, 2,
Okay.
Shaw, Warren, Peshek, needs to be named, after Richard Shaw. So that could be a trail, a grove of trees. I mean, it's very, it's not,
Undefined.
yeah, it's undefined. There's
Okay.
like a portion of that property in some way.
Okay, should that be included in our recommendation for this evening?
I'm not sure that we're there yet.
Okay.
Um,
But at least some acknowledgement of that then?
Yeah, we can acknowledge that,
Okay,
that, yeah. And I think that was on the website when we were submitting,
Mhm.
asking for.
So
Um,
that's for the second parcel, has that name requirement, not the.
it's not necessarily for a parcel, yeah, there were, I believe 6 parcels in the phase 2 properties called Shaw, Warren, Peshek. So something on that property,
Mm,
whether it's a trail, whether it's a,
bench or more than a bench,
yeah,
grove of trees.
Yeah.
Some natural feature.
yes. A bridge, I don't, yeah, something like
Okay.
that. We met with Mr. Shaw and that was written in the purchase and sale agreement when they sold it to us. So it doesn't, what we're discussing tonight is more like what we call the whole area.
Okay.
And I guess when and if we get phase 4, that would also be included.
and so where does the, like, oh, because right now there's kind of the Tallcut estuary, right? Where does that like end? Is that the harbor, or that the road crossing? Is that where we kind of delineated where that ends at?
I'm not
The
sure.
definition of an estuary is as far as the salt water runs up the creek at high tide. Where that line is, I have no idea, but it's somewhere in Donkey Creek and it's below what is. I mean, I would be surprised if it was more than halfway up Donkey Creek, between the bay and the road at the triangle there and the impassable pipe.
Right.
Right.
So we know it starts before, at that, for
Yes,
sure.
for sure, but I don't know that the saltwater gets up more than,
High tide, it would go pretty far up there, but almost to the culvert, to the.
culvert, that's the word I was looking for, thank you very much.
Passable pipe works too. So, we had lots of recommendations from the citizens and provided us lots of input.
I have questions though.
Yeah.
We had the questions before we
Yeah.
got here. Yeah.
Are
Let's
we,
open it up for discussion. then.
are we? Besides the question, the general question of what is our task, but do we have to stay specifically with these names, or can we hybridize some of these? Or are there rules around this? That's what I'm asking. What are the rules?
That was half of my question before you got here, and that is, if we went with an indigenous name, could we go with the Swiftwater equivalent name versus, I can't pronounce these names, so
Twalwaka.
really? But, and does that have an English translation?
Place where game is found.
Hmm?
Place where game is found.
Good. It's harder to do, and I was hoping to add it next to preserve, or wildlife reserve or something like that, but.
Yeah, Josh, do you have any input on the question about?
Yeah, so the Parks Commission, your job here is to come up with a recommendation for city council. It can be inspired by the list. It doesn't have to come off the list verbatim. So if you see something that you want to put together from what people have recommended, that's fine. The native names and the tribal names, those are going to be a little bit tricky. We can do something like what Swiftwater School did by taking the translation of a name. But the one thing we can't do is we can't do the anglicized pronunciation of a word. So Twalcut, like some people have been recommending, that would be the Lushootseed spelling of the word. That would be the tribal name. We wouldn't change that to something that's pronounceable. So that's what we're dealing with those recommendations.
From my perspective, I am totally supportive of a native name and and sensitive to it's, how did you say it so nicely, Swiftwater equivalent type of thing. So it's people can recognize it and speak to it and so forth. So and that seems to be pretty much half of, if not more, of those that were recommended, but
Yeah, it's a struggle, and it was a learning experience with the estuary name,
good.
because I also thought, well, anglicize it so that it's accessible to the people that don't speak Lushootseed.
Right.
And the response, which was a thoughtful one, was it's not a written language,
Right.
and it doesn't straight anglicize to, like, the way it's written on that first recommendation, Twalwaka. That's not really, if you said it in English the way that's written, it would not be the right pronunciation in
Okay.
Lushootseed, and there's no easy way to do it. And it was never a written language, so it's not, anglicizing it is sort of counter the goal of honoring
Right.
how it came. To which I thought, okay, that I hear you, but it doesn't change the fact that Lushootseed isn't very accessible to the vast majority of the population, so could there be a balance between really recognizing the native culture that lived here and making it accessible? And it seemed like that was difficult, not impossible, but difficult. So Twalwaka estuary is written in Lushootseed.
Swiftwater is a perfect example. of what we're
Yes.
talking. Perfect example. You could go Swiftwater Park, but they own
Well,
that school. Yeah.
And I replied to how it's written here in Lushootseed, the TXWAA. They have taken the language, only oral language, and they've assigned letters and sounds to those letters in order to write it down. So somebody wrote it down in the last little while to make the shoot seat a written language. So it's, I'm kind of going both, I go back and forth there because I also am very supportive
Right.
of recognition of the tribe. But how do we do that in a way that actually allows the tribe to be recognized by the vast
Did you ask the
majority?
tribes if they have a thought about that?
Oh, no, that's their thought. I am repeating to you what their thought is.
Okay.
I have an idea.
Go for it, Justin.
I think it may be possible to do both things, to make it accessible and also to, honor the tribe. And my idea for that is, so, place where game is found, Stephanie, is what you said, the translation is.
That's how I understand it, yeah.
Okay, so we could take that as our starting point and sort of truncate it into something a little bit more digestible, like a 2 or 3 word name, like abundant land, and that, I don't think that's gonna be the winner, but it's just a possible suggestion. Something that like honors the spirit of what the name represents itself, so it actually goes like to the essence of it, and then it would be accessible to everyone too, because people would understand that.
Right, what the meaning behind the native
Yeah.
word is and everything like that, yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Mhm.
Does that seem realistic or?
I go back and forth with it because I see what you mean by wanting to be, wanting people to, understand it and, bring that knowledge to the people of why it would name that, but like place, was it place where game is found?
Yeah.
Like abundant land?
Isn't quite the same.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have the same ring, but yeah,
Just as an example.
And Qualipeth was the name of the village. Squabupsh, if as close as I can say it, is Swiftwater, is the name of the clan, the family name, if you wish, that is the Swiftwater people. So that's. And so there's those two pieces of it, right? One's a place name-ish, and one is a clan identity. So the place name is I think the tribe, I'm gonna speak for the tribe when I shouldn't, but I think the tribe would say the place name is the place name is the place name.
Mhm.
That's what they called it because that's what it was. So I'm willing to bet that they would not be super pleased about if you're trying to give it a native feel that like your sample, which is fine, but the abundant thing won't probably work for them. That's not how they would relate to it at all at that time.
I'm just trying to think of how we can expand it so that it can be inclusive of everyone, but
Yeah.
maybe you're right. Maybe we should just kind of steer clear of it entirely and just pick one of the other names on the list.
Well, I think that one of the primary reasons, my understanding of conserving this property is for the creek and the restoration of the salmon run. Even though there's other issues there, but, so Salmon Run natural area or salmon something seems like it could be a nice natural fit. If that was the direction that people wanted to go. I think it, at the risk of sounding like housing development, Salmon Run, which we don't want.
Well, and I sort of like the Donkey Creek for that because there's lots of salmon runs around the Pacific Northwest, but I don't know of any other donkey creeks or steam Donkey Creek.
Mhm.
Are we sure that wasn't a typo where it says steam donkey?
The donkey engines are steam engines.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's why
They
it's
lock
called
the,
It's
oh,
not Donkey the animal, it's a puller of logs
Right,
oh,
using
okay.
steam power.
I
They're
did
kind
not
of
know
cool
that.
looking.
right.
I always wondered why Donkey Creek, okay.
We have in storage somewhere a donkey steam engine.
I don't know if it's in our possession,
It's in the city's possession.
is it? Okay,
Yeah, they were gonna put it up, it got complicated for how to get it installed in Donkey Creek Park, but
Mm, I bet.
that would have educated people about the steam engine.
our road signs say Donkey Creek, is that correct? All our road signs with the donkey,
Do you mean for the park signs?
well, I mean, where like, there's a sign that says Donkey Creek, if you pass by it or over it or whatever, do we have any that say that? Or since it doesn't cross the roadway?
It does under.
What's the signage there already
I
say?
don't think there's a sign.
I don't think there is a sign.
No.
I was informed that although everybody calls it Donkey Creek, the official name is North Creek,
Right.
which is a little more boring, but.
That also sounds like a housing development.
Yeah.
True. There is one called that.
We had been
Corner by
calling
Chapel
it a North Creek Salmon Heritage area. Area.
I liked the word ecosystem up at the top, that involved more than the creek, right? It's the whole thing, the forest and the stream runoff and the stream and the estuary. That spoke to the bigger thing to me, but that's just me.
Yeah,
I like the idea of having, even if it ends up being a little bit more boring, like a succinct, descriptive, place name that just kind of makes it readily apparent what the place is, maybe, and I don't know if, do we know if there's development gonna take place, if there'll be trails and so forth, or is the land like just being set aside not for public use, or?
Eventually, Ken, we're actually talking about putting a conservation land use designation on those in our comprehensive plan process, planning. But yeah, the only things that will be allowed are trails, probably benches.
Mostly natural.
Yeah,
Is already.
yeah, we're not gonna put in a playground, we're not gonna put in an amphitheater, Yeah. trail, and then perhaps parking and restrooms along the edges.
Okay.
That's it.
and just for scale, I know we have a couple forests already in our inventory. What size might those be compared to the 40 acres we have there? Soundview Forest is maybe 10?
Oh, I doubt.
No,
That's a-
five?
No,
Okay,
it's
so what's
two.
Grandview?
Grandview is 5,
Okay,
that's a 5.
okay,
That's a
so
5 acre.
I'm within agreement with you, it's more of than just a forest, it's more of like an ecosystem immersion, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's more my draw in recommendation
I
is
like
kind of,
preserve, I like ecosystem.
I
Just
think it
feels
should,
bigger.
yeah, I think it should almost have a little bit.
What is a preserve and what is a conservation area? I like all of those.
Let's go to the Google.
I'll define what is conservation site, conservation area,
North Creek
ecosystem
Conservation
reserve,
Area.
reserve, wildlife reserve.
I think those are all fitting, but
I do
I
too.
think there's specific DNR implications
Yeah, I
for
think
those
so
things.
too.
There's
We're-
legal definitions. for those.
Yeah, we're not really dealing with DNR too much
Mhm.
on this, they're kind of. what we,
This is from the, NPS, Park Service. Conservation is generally associated with the protection of natural resources, while preservation is associated with the protection of buildings, objects, and landscapes.
Hmm.
Simply put, conservation seeks the proper use of nature, while preservation seeks protection of nature from use. But we are also trying to do protecting that particular nature from use. That's why it's being acquired. So we can probably pull that up either way.
Either way.
But generally, it's a conservation area more than it is a preservation area.
I think we should run with that. That sounds good. Now find the.
Front part of it.
Conservation area, like it. Or conservation park.
Natural area works too.
Yeah. I feel like the conservation area gets more at how it was acquired though, versus the natural area, because like Adam Tallman, I think of like a natural area, and that was more of like a traditional sale, I feel, but it was part of a development agreement, was that Adam Tallman a part of a development? I think so. So I think the natural, I think, it speaks to it, but I think the conservation speaks to how it was acquired and why it was acquired.
Yeah, I feel like there's kind of more vague implications with natural area, which could be to the benefit of
Yeah,
this particular instance. I guess, not to be too nitpicky, but I just worry that people would get confused if it's called a conservation area and like they're, I don't know, trying to match it up with like
the DNR
our
stuff.
definition or something. So,
I can
I
see.
mean, I totally understand what you're saying.
The conservation park would be totally understood. The concept of a park and the conservation front of it puts some identity to it, so, yeah.
A natural resource, a natural area is a type of conservation area where the goal is to protect outstanding examples of NATO ecosystems, habitat for endangered, threatened, or sensitive plants, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
So a natural area is a type of conservation area.
And so, and the idea is of a conservation area is to preserve it from development. I also struggle with the idea, we're gonna put trails and benches in there, we're gonna call it a conservation area, not necessarily conserving it, protecting it from that. So I struggle with that idea. So the conservation park, on the other hand, like, it's more inviting, come play in the park, come walk the trails, come sit on the benches.
It implies human use.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What if we went with the native, as you, so I can't say it and so forth like that, and then we could make it distinctive. And people would pick up on the
Twelve
consultation and park, and then make them agonize over saying it, but that would make it notable in their minds
Well, and it's
and
cool that
accurate. How's that?
I think at Austin Park, the signposts where you can push the button and it will tell you, speak it for you. I think those are the coolest, and I see lots of people using those
Yeah.
and learning. So that's been that was a great idea for how to manage the fact that people don't know how to say the word
Right,
and to teach them about that. So we could do something like that again, and if we use a native name that looks funny and is hard to pronounce, so they can learn to pronounce it.
but
We
we
can all
also
learn to
threw
say
in
it.
some other things, conservation, emphasis,
Yeah.
park, simple. Yeah,
Well, and on that list there, I know Jennifer Keating and Robin Denson are on what is the conservation group called?
Yeah.
It's helping to acquire.
Harbor Land Conservation
Yeah.
Fund.
Jennifer Keating is an enrolled member of the Puyallup tribe and worked very hard on Austin Estuary Park renaming, as well as on other projects, so. If she is speaking in part for the tribe, which she is, that's her job. They're voting for a Twalwacut conservation area. I would just change area to park.
so,
Or we could do
like-
forest if we didn't want, if we wanted another alternative, conservation forest. But I think you're limiting yourself with the stream in there, and I think, yeah, categorizing too much. I think just park or area probably is good.
I'd go for that. That name conservation park, and you also have Jenny Wood, who's on the council, who's pretty supportive of at least half of that. Yeah,
I like Stephanie's idea of including salmon in there, but I also agree that salmon run is just
Yeah.
blah.
Well, I was looking up on the two words for salmon, but they're different ones, and the chum one is, the chum word, which I can't pronounce because I haven't taken the Lushootseed, but it's something like the way, which I think would be hard for people to say.
Yeah.
What about adding, what if it was Twalwacut Salmon Conservation Park? Is that too much about the creek and not enough about the land, or what do you think?
I think,
Just an idea.
I think that's a good idea. I think that
it's
encompasses
a
a
big
lot.
problem. I'm not as enthused about the salmon as some of you are, because in that 40 or some, maybe 50 acres, it's not the emphasis of it, so.
I think it's gonna be though, when they take the culvert out
Yeah, I agree with
and
that.
restore that salmon creek.
Yeah.
There's also money in creating salmon creeks,
Yeah.
right? That's a part of partial funding sources. Because
Exactly.
there's lots of effort around restoring those.
Write that down. I like what you guys are saying. That's
Okay, I'm right, we're right.
The only,
salmon compensation.
the only objection I can think of to the word park is that does imply like human use
Yeah,
a lot, which, we want to allow that, but very minimally. So it will be just trails.
this definition of conservation area says an area of special architectural or historic interest, the character of which is desirable to preserve or enhance. So, I mean, but that's more related to built environment. But you can have a conservation area that's natural, you can have a conservation area that is, human altered, so, yeah.
I'm not overly hung up myself on area versus park. I'm park favorable, so we're all parks people here, so we kind of like parks, but I'm not, if it was an area, I don't have a problem with it.
We don't have an area yet in our inventory, so we can always add it.
What about like, because there's like Blovell Reserve, that kind of, I mean, most people that hear that, they know what it is. And it's, or they don't, I don't know, but I mean, it's a beautiful place and, but it's, it's a person's name, so, but it's reserved.
That's
So,
Bainbridge one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gorgeous. If you've never been there, you gotta go.
yeah, and then the other one that comes to mind is Capilano, which is up in Canada, which is a Anglification of a native word, but, that is also a place name. And it's, the suspension bridge, it's it's so dramatically bigger than this,
Right.
but it is spectacular.
Spectacular. Is it a park? Is it called Capilano Park?
It is, yeah, I think it's called Capilano Suspension Bridge Park,
Okay.
but most people just call it Capilano. And so,
And it feels pretty park-like.
yes, it is, but it's a private, privately run.
I'm suspecting that the council's gonna have a vigorous conversation just like we are. And so I don't think it'd be anything out of place for us to put down one or two or three options and let Jennifer, whoever presents it to the council, describe what we saw as the issues involved.
Well, so
Carp and salmon and, what are it? Preservation, et cetera.
So the way we got here is that we were supportive of native honoring,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And we were that it fits the definition of conservation areas, right? That bringing in the salmon is what do we want to say about the forest and salmon? That, why are we leaning towards salmon?
Why was that thrown in there?
Because it's a salmon creek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's San Very.
And that's the intent of what's being conserved, right?
Right.
And it's a very important and unique natural feature.
I mean, there are two primary creeks that go into Gig Harbor. There's a Chum Creek, and there's a Silver Creek. And, I mean, protecting this creek all the way up is as significant as protecting Crescent Creek. So I think that is a big part of this whole effort. Is my understanding of the original purchase of the first piece of property was related not only to the salmon, but also to the inhabitants of the area. And the fact that the ecosystem and the ferns, the trees is all native plants. Very few invasives, which is very real. It's really rare.
We also sort of rejected names that sound like housing developments.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I mean, there's some reasons why to not go
Absolutely.
where
Yeah.
places too. And then we didn't lean towards, nobody leaned into like Donkey Creek or that sort of time period of the history. Why was that? Why, what,
I don't know, because I'm like, I would like it to be, the same name throughout, instead of adding a third different little name to it. And so,
What if it was something like Donkey Creek Reserve? Does that sound too much like a housing development?
I think people should be like, where are the donkeys?
pretty unique.
Yeah.
for me, that sort of starts meeting the standard of not being North Creek. There's gotta be a zillion North Creeks out there.
Yeah.
How about the native name Donkey Creek Preserve as one of the 3 or 4 that we share?
Are you,
In other words, give them a feeling about, what we were thinking.
okay, I would probably cap it at 3
I can
recommendations.
assure you, we're gonna have a rigorous conversation as much as we are, yeah,
Is our top choice at this point, Qualacut's Salmon Conservation Area?
that's mine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Area.
That's number
is the-
1.
Area is the one that I,
Would number 2 be the Donkey Creek Salmon Conservation Area? Or something else? What's like
I
our
think we
second
need the native
recommendation?
name attached to anything. That's how I feel about it, so.
you think add a native name to anything and then,
Somewhat attached at the front of it, or. But
well, but going back, I'm sorry, to what Louise was saying earlier, will that be found offensive? If we have.
I don't know that offensive is the right thing. It's more. I don't know. I don't know. I could make a case. I mean, that's the poor tribe, the tribe is removed so that the mill can go on their land from their perspective, right? Is that the timing is a little bit,
Not
the mill
entirely.
came later.
Yeah, Mill came later. It was purchased. And it was owned by a group of Native people. It was, it's very complicated history on that, at least the museums and Donkey Creek Park site. But, as far as we can find in the historic record, not the oral record, but, the property was sold to taxes, purchased, and also inherited by a couple of people from the tribe, so. But it's super complicated, and I can give you the entire lowdown if you ever want it, because it's about 16 different owners.
Okay.
Within about 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
But even then, none of that would have been possible if the clearings, if the Medicine Creek laws hadn't come through to remove them to the reservation.
I don't know if they were removed to the reservation. I know that a group of 8 to 10 people of Native descent, some
Stayed
stayed
there.
and owned the property, and
Okay.
purchased the property.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's complicated.
It is complicated, yeah.
so we have the 12 head,
All I've written down is Qualacut Salmon Conservation Area
okay,
at this particular moment.
okay.
Because I don't think we've really come to a second recommendation that's we like this as our number 2 spot.
Right,
I like Donkey Creek Preserve personally, that's,
I think acknowledging Donkey Creek and having that option to keep that consistency throughout
Yeah.
that, I think,
well, and does it just make Donkey Creek Park bigger,
One thing,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because it's kind of a thing, you know,
I can
right
make
there,
that case too.
so that might be an option.
yeah,
If you like the name for one, I mean, it's not a whole different park, it's
No.
just an extension in the way. that one.
so, I mean, would that be like, okay, so there's Donkey Creek Park, would this be like Donkey Creek Forest Park? Donkey Creek Forest,
And
You
So they'd be
preserve?
considered-
I said reserve,
yeah,
With an R or a P?
an R,
Has there been discussion of just like formally combining the two since the land is?
Well, we want,
contiguous?
is Donkey Creek Park is, you know, has platforms and benches, bathrooms, and this would be not the same.
a different type
A
of.
different
piece.
type of-
Yeah,
Really,
Yeah.
because Donkey Creek Reserve would be the natural extension of the Donkey Creek Park.
yeah.
yeah,
Donkey Creek. Natural. Extension area, no.
natural,
Yeah, yeah.
And it's too is separated
I
by
had something.
road,
really
I
did.
know.
and it goes right to sewer,
Yeah,
Right.
so it doesn't actually touch the part of the
Hmm.
west side of the road. Touches the sewer property,
right,
gotcha,
right?
Yes.
And I like the word reserve too. We are in fact reserving it for natural,
Mhm.
as a natural space.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Let's make that number two.
That's a decent number two,
Yeah.
Monkey Creek.
reserve. A natural extension of John Creek.
There you go.
Your plan is done.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
no longer with us.
Do we have a third? Do we want to try for a third?
The first one had salmon in it or not?
It did.
Okay, I thought-
Twalwacut Salmon Conservation Area.
And there's no 12. In the
Well,
second one,
but there's no native recognition in the second one.
I'm kind of okay with those two. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely open.
I'm okay, I think that
I'm good.
there are messages there, maybe not the specific recommendations, so. And,
So, I mean, do you want a formal recommendation for two recommendations? Or maybe I move
We
that,
can just carry our. Are you allowed to do that, or do we need to?
I'm gonna defer to Josh, who knows all the rules. Or
Do we need
that,
three? I can come
or,
up with three.
well, I think ideally you would say one, but what do you think, Josh, about bringing two forward? They. Or to consider,
The idea is that you give them one, but if you have two ideas and you can't decide, then I think we could go to council with that. The last time we did this was for Soundview Forest Park, and if I remember correctly, council came up with a name that nobody proposed at all. So Soundview Forest Park was not the Parks Commission recommendation.
Right.
They kind of just went off script and came up with their own, so. I don't know that it's not like they're gonna take what you recommend and it's gonna be a slam dunk, so I think if you have other options. They'd probably consider them.
I like though, that if you convey to them along with our recommendations, why we're recommending.
yeah, there's a
that.
message of two options there.
Yeah,
And if you could share that message, this is. I would help.
that may help spark, even if they go off all of the script, that gives them some things to think about for what we're thinking about.
yeah,
And it's not, there seems to be a movement away from people's names associated with parks and places. so.
Yes, I like that too.
yeah.
Me too.
So. Any recommendation or we're good? Okay. We're good with the two recommendations and then as long as you can help convey kind of the message behind those.
yeah,
recommendations.
and I'll
Okay.
send out. Write up or whatever, to
Okay.
make sure I'm adequately conveying what your desires.
Hey, Ted. Okay. So move on to staff reports with Parks Division update as our first one. Jen.
Yeah, thank you to those of you that came, Parks Appreciation Day. I'm guessing we had about 70 people.
Wow.
Yes.
Really good.
So Lisa was in charge of Grandview Forest.
We got so much done.
Did you guys?
Oh my God, it was a lot.
Yeah.
People worked hard.
They were like
We
hauling.
pushing those wheelbarrows uphill and it got longer at that hill. The further we got down it with the beauty bark, the longer.
Where did
that
you guys
uphill.
kind of start and where was your focus at?
Just by the bathrooms and beauty bark wise, we went all the way down the hill to the bench, to the bottom of the 5 acres, 7 feet wide, all the way down. And then all berries and ivy have been removed 3 more feet beyond the trail and 3 feet down from the trees. And it was these lovely senior citizen ladies went after it with their loppers. They were not the wheelbarrow toting types, but holy guacamole, they made 10 huge piles of berries and ivy plants. It was impressive. I mean, I don't know what coffee they were drinking, but shoot. And then those with rakes and wheelbarrows and shovels did the rest of it. If you even, as you walk out to your car, if you even go back over there by the bathrooms and just sort of look down the slope, and it feels cushy and good and stop that erosion and all the things that you do these projects for. So it was, and people had fun, and there was music and
Sweet.
it was good.
Music, you guys had a band come?
No, but we had a fine playlist on Spotify that was rocking out fifties, sixties and seventies happy music.
Nice.
Lady got so much done.
Right?
And then there's a group from the VFW.
Oh,
They were the
yes.
wheelbarrow
The
people.
VFW from Gig Harbor, but two people that came from Aberdeen VFW to support their Gig Harbor. They got up
Wow.
from Hoquiam and drove here and wheelbarrowed stuff for hours. One of them 18 years old and a fine young man, so really, really nice. And they had their picture taken with the mayor and as well at the end. They were really hard workers. It was really sweet.
That's really gratifying.
Yeah, it is. It
Awesome.
was. Some kids from the, getting their high school volunteer hours in, whatever the club is,
Interact.
Club, came a little later. I think they had finished up somewhere else and got a few more hours in, got another hour in with us at the end of the day.
Yeah, we had a pretty good turnout as well. We had probably 30 plus in the Holly Orchard and then probably another 30 that were working the garden simultaneously. And the garden people restored beds and they're working they spread all the sawdust throughout all the boxes. And then we focused primarily on the Holly Orchard, cleaning all the undergrowth and the suckers, and it's really opening up back there and pretty excited about it. There were so many people who go to school right up the street and didn't even know, half about that park. And it was like, man. So I was happy to have that. And then, there was a group of girls, and I had my girls there, so it was kind of cool. Like, hey, thanks for being a good role model and stuff. So as high school kids, that was nice to say that. And I'm sure, hopefully nice to hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were able to keep everybody in the parking lot and nobody on the grass, because I heard that was a thing. And then I think we got all the tools back. We ended up I would guess probably like 2 truckloads of debris that we pulled out of there.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it piles up pretty quick when you have that many people working, pulling it out of there, which is pretty awesome, but, yeah. The park's looking really nice, and I'm excited to go look at the other one, so.
Yeah.
Great.
In Soundview, there were probably 10, 15 people. A lot of them were neighbors that lived along the dead end there. And yeah, they spread bark, cut ivy as well.
Awesome.
And it's great that everybody's able to come out and, do the community support and stuff, and once upon a time, we kind of had bigger projects, I feel, and so I know that kind of comes with, what is volunteership and what is work. But I definitely heard that, like, I could pull weeds at home. That's not what this is about, though.
That's right.
But, people were like, oh, I remember we used to like build fences and, plant trees, and so it's like,
Yeah,
I don't think.
We could probably maybe next year get some plants.
Yeah,
Check the
yeah.
budget for that, but yeah.
so.
So are you saying in a really nice way that people were kind of complaining about
Just coming to park. Well, yeah, pulling weeds. They were like, yeah. They weren't thrilled to be.
Well, I mean, that's what it's about.
I know. I know, so I said, yeah, well, we're happy to have you, so.
So note to self, have everyone build pets. Or something.
Right, but thank you
And have
for,
them use power tools.
yeah, so we'll do your best.
That's you.
Yeah.
So
Huh?
only
More
one person
more
is
discipline.
Doing all those fences.
Yeah.
Right.
An episode of this old house or something, right?
Thank you for the dropping off the coffee and water bottles. I don't know where those came from, but thank you for whoever dropped those off. Is that right?
Yeah, I gave them to the crew.
Okay.
Love them in there.
Yeah, thank you.
But,
Yeah, a lot of those high school kids showed up with nothing.
yeah, I have high schoolers, that's how they roll.
So.
Yeah.
We were pulling weeds with my bare hands.
Yeah.
Here, take my gloves.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, so that was a learning experience for me too, so
Yeah.
then, yeah, got into next year.
Totally.
Figured-
What's your biggest takeaway?
I mean, I just thought it went well. I was just glad it went well and people showed up,
Yeah.
honestly, because I didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
It's my first time trying to organize it and I don't. Yeah.
Numbers are up from the previous year, just saying, thanks.
Huh?
I said numbers are up from the previous year, nice job.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
That's true.
Yeah, so, let's see, other updates I have, we'll continue, right, the, Crescent Creek Park survey is open until Monday, May 8th. So if you've all had a chance to take it, that would be great, share it with other people who know where the park is and like, are familiar with it, that would be great.
Do we know how many respondents we've had so far?
Last Thursday, we had just under 200,
Okay,
so I expect it's over 200 now.
okay.
Yeah, so that's great.
Lots of people came to the,
Oh, the open house.
Oh, that was,
it was packed.
yeah,
Yeah, what-
look at turnout.
Yeah, we had probably 60
Yeah.
plus people, including, gosh, there were so many people there before we even started.
That's
So
what I
we're
heard,
like trying to
like.
put up I mean, the consultant got stuck in traffic again. So they were a little bit late. We weren't as far ahead as we wanted to be, but we might do it in the chambers next time, just so we can close the door. Yeah, so we have a survey open till the 8th. I just turned in the memo about the Masonic Lodge. The council is going to be discussing May 11th at their study session. So, if anyone's interested in that, you can watch it. We don't accept public comment during that. However, so we've had all sorts of engineers and architects and hazardous building inspectors, mold people, just all kinds of people in there taking a look at it and talking about how much it'll cost to fix it up.
What was the number we heard? It was
1.755 million to not really change much, but that's
not the code though?
that should be to code, although
Except for ADA.
that includes ADA. That is with ADA.
Yes, in the basement,
Not in the basement,
not in the
but
basement.
on the main floor. It is ADA for bathrooms in the basement. But, so they can get, we're not sure about the entrance in the basement, so, but they have to move a structural wall to create ADA bathrooms. So, and then dig footings in the basement or posts to hold up the wall, waterproof. There's all sorts of leaks in the foundation. Yeah, it's been bad. That's why the mold person is, because a bunch of preschoolers were getting runny noses and they're like, oh no. So there isn't the bad mold, but there are multiple kinds of mold. There's asbestos in floors, there's lead on a lot of the doors and walls, but we did remove it from place where the places where kids are in school. It was on the doors of the bathrooms that were constantly getting closed. So now they have curtains and so yeah, now we're gonna present all that information. What is that? May 11th
What's
at
the time?
3 p.m.
Sorry, thank you.
And it's on Zoom if anybody just wants to work and watch. Yeah, and that is adding, putting the windows back, but it's not really putting up anything to make it nice.
Mhm.
Like, it will add new flooring where the floors are spaces moving, but we're not talking, nice light fixtures, electrical upgrades, anything. Like, yeah, roof. Or that siding, which is actually kind of falling apart in the back. So yeah. So that, yeah, because then that will, what they decide, if they're gonna go look at it, decide what kind of programs they want in there, they can either do that minimal remodel we were talking about, or have the architects and engineers do a more comprehensive one with outreach and have people decide what exactly they're gonna use it for. That's just for one 1,700 square foot room. Basically what we would get for 1.7.
1,700 square feet.
1,750-ish, yeah. Let's see. So yesterday, got another complaint about pickleball at the street park. So I checked with Kyle and the maintenance crew, like, hey, we ordered those signs, right? And he's like, okay, they're going up. So they went up yesterday. And then I got my first complaint today from people who went there at 6 a.m. trying to play pickleball and how it's not usable for working people and so the park opens at dawn and like apologize, but yes, we do get complaints all the time. Pre 7 a.m. So
We
we're
have a sign or some mad neighbor come yell at you.
right. Or worse, the neighbors have asked, like, what do we do? And honestly, at that time of the morning, the only thing they can do is call the police. And
Yeah.
police aren't gonna, they'll just kindly, but, and even they were like, a sign helps, because we just point to the sign. Rather than tell them about rules they didn't know existed. So,
Right.
so anyway, so there's been a little bit of sadness about that.
Where's the noise emanating from the
It's some of
pickleball?
the paddle and
The
ball.
paddle
Oh,
ball,
just the
that wiffle
smack,
ball.
smack. It really
Louis,
is
you got a
like
great
that.
article you should see.
There's gonna be a whole CNN article on pickleball noise complaints.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Oh, yeah.
And as a Metro Parks person, I can tell you, we get calls every single day that are noise complaint calls
Really?
in the neighborhood
About
parks
pickleball.
that have pickleball, because it makes a really hard popping
Oh.
Yeah. sound, whack, whack, whack. It's loud, it carries.
It's louder than tennis.
It's much louder than tennis. The ball is hard, the paddle is hard, there's no give in any of that, so it whack, whack, whacks, and it echoes,
Mhm.
and it's obnoxious.
Yes, there's even, the police chief ordered an article about how there's a town in the Denver area that's taking out pickleball, like barring them up, brand new
Stop
courts. Yeah, so we're like,
We
can you
did-
just wait till 7 a.m.?
Yeah.
That's all we're asking.
That's too much.
I don't think so. Well, in this guy, I suppose it is, but.
So we should sell muffled, pickleball.
I know they
hats,
should.
something.
They
Right.
should invent something like that.
Yeah.
Off the cover, made a portion.
Yeah, if you use
There
a
you
tennis
go.
ball and pickleball paddle, it's all the ball.
Mm, But it's hard, yeah,
I know, it's a different thing, but
it is,
Yeah.
tennis balls are heavier.
yeah.
Yeah, anyway. And then Josh and I discussed, blessing and half, Josh and I discussed perhaps canceling the July meeting. It falls on July 5th, which is week a lot of people are going, including myself. So is that all right with you?
All in
guys?
favor of canceling the July 5th meeting.
Okay, it's anonymous. Josh didn't seem too upset about it when I ran it by him either.
It looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, council did. Been doing some research and getting quotes, but for the Ansich pavers that you had recommended forever ago.
Yeah,
They decided to accept the donation, but they want that, and then the city will pay for all the blank.
Okay.
So now we'd have to figure out how to make that work with our contracting rules. Because we can't just say, okay, we have to I don't know if we have to bid, right, but we needed to match, the whole point, so. Trying to wrap my brain around that and work with our attorney to figure that out.
Okay.
That's where we are.
Cool.
So I have,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Were we supposed to take public comment on anything? Or I don't know if there was anybody doing.
I think there was an official submission process.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like tonight,
when council,
people could.
well, they could, I mean, we didn't advertise it as a time for public comment, we
Okay.
kind of did accept all of these names.
Right,
as-
right, right.
And
I
then it
didn't
will
think-
be a council.
Okay.
item.
Yeah,
Josh, does that sound right? Yeah.
okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't having someone out there going, but I needed to talk about my name.
And your name.
Which is good, actually.
So next steps for Crescent Creek is the consultants take back all their input and draw up some designs and then bring it back and start.
Mhm.
Okay.
We'll have a CIC meeting probably July-ish, and then another open house with the concepts. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And then, the other one I was gonna ask you about? Oh, the sports complex.
Oh, yeah,
So we're still looking at groundbreaking end of the year, is that what I?
hopefully,
Yeah, okay,
yeah, we'll see how the permitting goes and
Okay.
everything. They went to the design review board last week to get a approval for a fence in the setback
oh, okay,
around the pickleball. And then on Monday, the contract for phase 2 and 3 feasibility goes to council, so we can get rolling on that.
sweet.
Just some outreach to sports clubs, etc.
Is there the consulting company that's handling the feasibility study, is that the same that we've used for the rest of the complex, or?
Yeah, for the phase 1B,
Okay.
yeah, BCRA.
Okay, cool, that's exciting. Yes. Cool. All right, Josh, your time to shine, city administration update.
Okay, we are kicking off a redesign of our website. We had our first meeting last week. Been 7 years now, I think, since we last updated it, so it's badly in need of a refresh. Hopefully that'll make it easier for people to find things, get news out there, that type of thing. That'll probably take us a couple months, so you won't see anything right away, but that's what we're gonna be working on. Summer Sounds list was released last week, so that's out on our website. Went out in the Gigabyte. You can see the list of the bands and when they're going to be playing. The new visitors guide is out. If you, after this meeting, if you go out in the front lobby, you'll see them in a rack. You can grab 1 or 3 or 10 or however many you need. Those are out there now. The chamber produced those for us. We kind of cooperated with them a little bit and gave them a bunch of money to produce it for us. So it's a combination visitors guide / profile magazine, which is their kind of their outreach for people that are looking to relocate, businesses and people looking to relocate. Let's see, urban forest management plan and the climate action plan are progressing. We just used our new Flashvote survey platform to do a tree survey. The results of that are on the city's website on the front page. That'll be part of the urban forest management plan discussion. That's going to come to council at the May 25th study session, tentatively. So both of those, the urban forest management plan and the climate action plan, will be at that meeting. So if you're interested in those and kind of want to see where we're at progress wise, you can tune in there. It's just going to be a discussion, an update, no decisions or anything like that, but you can see where we're at in that process. I think that's pretty much all I have.
Josh, can you tell us more about the flash survey? So if you're signed up to take that, do you get every survey the city puts out, and how many does the city do a year or expect to do a year?
Yeah, every survey that we put out. So once you're signed up for it, then you're in the membership panel. And then depending on where you live, so if your address is inside city limits, then you'll be counted in the survey results. And if you're outside city limits, you can still take the survey, but you'll be kind of counted separately. But once you're in the pool for that, the membership panel for that, you get copied on every survey that goes out. So if you've signed up for one, you get them all. And we're supposed to do like 6 or 8 a year, I think.
Okay, great.
We'll have another one on climate action plan. I think we're going to do one on the Crescent Creek master plan. And then of course the 2044 comp plan update, we'll get one too. So there should be a few in the next couple of months.
You said a 2044 comp plan update?
Yeah,
Gotcha. Is that for Puget Sound Regional Council, or is that for us?
That's for us.
It's for us.
20-year horizon,
Oh,
so
gotcha.
it adopted in.
Oh, okay. Anything else for Josh? No? Thanks, Josh.
Yep.
Commissioner reports and comments. Did any of y'all have any feedback or comments?
I just, there were a couple questions I had about, some changes I noticed on, the Cushman Trail. Do you know do we administer that, or is that a PennMat?
Could be both.
Could be both?
If it's in city limits, we do.
Oh, okay. I noticed that the portion of the Cushman Trail between Foster Street and then its terminus over by, well, just over on this end. like on both sides of the trail to about 20 feet back on both sides. Like, it was just completely raised, and I was wondering if that's just, is that part
The
of like
utilities came by, no one's chopped off, topped all our trees, because we're up along the power line, so I think the
that was
utilities were
the
maintaining.
Yeah,
Oh,
they can do that. They cut down.
Yeah, they hacked.
it looks bad, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, I should have prefaced that. We can help keep vegetation off the trail
mm,
itself, but other stuff, TP, Tacoma Power.
Oh,
So there's a part up by, Soundview. And where it runs next to the freeway towards Wilco, where they came and chopped down all the, blackberries and stuff too, which we actually is place about, so that was nice, but yeah. they-
yeah, they came by with the helicopter real low one day, and the next week they cut down, and chopped all the trees off the tops.
yeah.
The helicopter was, the
I
helicopter,
don't know what they chopped it with, but the helicopter was definitely like low, like surveillance.
the helicopter was attracting quite a lot of positive town talk attention.
Oh.
Of what's happening with these helicopters? They've been here for 6 hours.
Fine,
No, they were thinking there was some, you know, criminal at large kind of thing that they should.
Like a couple months ago.
yeah.
The other thing was I noticed, really minor, but I noticed the lights have been moved from the little wayposts along the Cushman. I was just curious, like, are those like going to be refurbished, replaced, are they?
So,
That's a hard one, I know,
no,
huh?
so Kyle and I have had a few conversations about this. He was wondering, first he was saying, well, they're solar, and I think they don't last more than a couple of years, is what he's found. So he was kind of like, hey, people are looking for donation ideas, maybe we can have them chip in and buy lights, but then we're kind of like, isn't it closed after dark? So, so I think that they decided just because he was gonna kind of try to do a pilot project to see if the slightly more expensive ones lasted longer than these ones, but a lot of them also get vandalized. So, I think he decided that we just won't replace them because people aren't really supposed to be on it after dark. Anyway.
Okay. Are the posts themselves going to be left, and will they still be available for the public if there is an emergency and they need to call for help?
The locators, yeah. the
Yeah,
locators should be.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
'Cause that's all information that the emergency units have when their stuff, right? And geolocation or whatever.
that's my understanding. And they were, yeah, it was donated by a doctor whose son got hurt on the trail. Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
there's no plans to remove those that have signs on them, markers.
Yeah, it was still solar lights are tough, because I noticed like some like get banged off or, and then the whole thing with not being allowed on the trail after dark, like you're not supposed to be.
Yeah, so why are we lighting it for?
Well, then is it a park or is it really like, you know, for alternative transportation use? And it's
True.
like,
That's true, that's true.
hey, that's frustrating when I think of that, but I'm just like, oh, it's got lights on it. But then it's like, yeah, you don't want, you know, you want to have to be able to have that ordinance or whatever
Yeah.
in place for what you don't want there.
Right, and it
So-
does get expensive.
Yeah,
Like
lighting
the
that.
cheapest heat counter, like $30 each, so when you're talking,
Times 5 miles.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, street lights so long, I walk Cushman, but I don't pay attention to them, so, but it's not like.
Some of the
Maybe the
ground
crossings,
lights,
but-
Only
Yeah.
the crossings, otherwise it's pitch black. I've
Yeah.
walked it at night and
Yeah.
I've seen those lights from the beginning, like just start out dim and then just get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer until.
Yeah, there's
It's not
like a
existent.
little Christmas light back there or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I thought like, oh, this is nice that we have those though, in case someone really does need help or
Yeah.
whatever. So,
and like, and we can't string power to make like
right,
decent lights that will work all winter, I mean, especially in the winter, when you probably need them the most,
yeah.
they work the least. Because there's not a sun to recharge them, you can't spring power out there. Yeah,
Darned if you do, darned if you don't.
exactly. Good
All good
question.
things.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Sorry for opening all these cans of.
No, these are good.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Good.
Anything else?
I do. I don't know who is supposed to be the keeper of this, but I did receive from the mayor and the city council the Parks Appreciation Day certificate at the volunteer event that they had here. So I didn't want to keep it in my house and deny all of you fine folks of access to this, but truly, who does retain these? Like, does it?
I've got.
That's,
no, last
that's
one
for
I got
you.
Matt. Yeah, you, that's who does, you.
Okay.
I've got a fair share of them, and so I'm good.
But
So seems special.
they recognize that by proclamation that our parks are important. And Parks Appreciation Day is officially April 22nd, and sure enough, it was.
Sure was.
All power to the mayor.
Sweet.
Also happy to receive it on the group's behalf. And there you go.
It's great.
Other than that, I don't have anything else. Good for the order. No, good. All right, I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting. All
Second.
all in favor?
Bye.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thanks, Josh.